Hey Bales, welcome back to Coding a 2D side-scrolling platformer project, and today we're going to make our player able to die, and we want to make our enemy able to die, and we're gonna make our player able to attack, and we're gonna make him able to defend himself that way. And as you can see, we have, we start up here, some new sprites. We've got player die 1, player die 2, and we've got enemy die, enemy die, enemy die, we've got player attack, and we've got mask player attack. And this is sort of the main things we need here for make it work. Of course we need objects too, but we have some different animations, and we got some different, it's easy to set up actually. Then if we go down to objects here, we have no new scripts. And in objects we have only one new object, and that is object entity die. And that's because that I don't want to have like a lot of different death objects, one death object for every thing. So it's like, if the player die, it will morph into this, if the enemy dies, morph into this, and then we are happy. There's no reason to have a dead player object and a dead enemy object. And I don't want to hard code it into the player so it will shift, and that will make a lot of trouble. So it's nice to have another object so we don't have to think about it, so nothing reacts with it or anything. But so this will do fine. And if we start looking, actually first I want to talk about some of the things I've changed that is not a direct part of this. But if you go to game controller, you will see that I have added a spawn X and spawn Y variable, and that's to control our player spawn, where the player spawns after he die. And you can check then, for example here I have in the creation code of the player I have just set so they are this position to start with, but this makes sure that you can make spawn points and stuff in the game, and you can set some specific places to spawn. And that's always nice, because else you can use the X start and a Y start too, but then you cannot change them that well. So I think this is a nice way to do it, and yeah, let's just jump right in. If we go to our parent hazard, then instead of just teleporting you back, it will now destroy the player, and then it will create this entity die at the same position, set the sprite of it, and then set some variables. And right now that's okay, they make sense if you read them, but how do they work? And to see this, we'll go to the entity here, the entity die here. And the parent type is par entity, so that it can still have gravity and stuff like that, which is always nice. And in the create event we have these variables. We have the event inherit, so it can have the same variables as a normal entity. Then we have respawn object -1, which will control whether the after the animation it should respawn an object, or what object it should respawn. And then down here respawn is similar if it should do it, and then respawn X and Y. So if this is false, then none of these variables really matter, but if it's true, then it will use these objects variables, and then it's bad if there is no object, but it will have some position and stuff like that. And then we have physics, so if you have like a death animation where it needs to be obliterated where it stands, then you can turn off physics. And then in the animation end, it will destroy the animation, so the object is gone. And then if respawn is true, it will create the object and the given parameters. And in the end step, so it will check if there's physics, and then it will inherit that event. So it's pretty simple object, nothing big here. Its depth is -64 as a standard to make it go above everything else, but you can set this also when you kill it. So if you have a special object that needs to fade into the background or something like that, you can just change the depth when you are creating the object using just the depth variable. So it's pretty easy. If we then go back here, you can see it makes sense. It's the player, so we want it to respawn. The respawn object is of course our object player, and the respawn positions is spawn X and spawn Y. And we don't want physics on this animation because it's, yeah, you will see why, because it's using a trolley animation that would not make sense to add physics to, because it got physics in the animation also. And then we also have added health to our player. We just use our HP and max HP variables, which is set to 10 here, so we have 10 health. We have added a attack clock, a current attack, and a hurt clock. And well, given that we are talking about dying right now, let's start with the hurt clock, and then we can take attacks after that. If we go to end step, and I know it's getting jumping around, you're going from one thing to another thing, but that's sort of part of, as the project is getting bigger and bigger, I cannot go through every piece of code every time, so it will be jumping around a lot. I hope you're okay with it, because there's no really other way to do it. I can try to sustain it so it's taking it in a logical way, and I will do that. I'm doing that alright, but it will jump around a lot and it gets more and more advanced, so it's a good idea if you have watched the other, if you have the project file with you, so you can see these things for yourself. But let's just continue. Now where it is? Hurt. I've added a little category down here, and it simply checks if the hurt clock is larger than 0. You could also use an alarm if you want that, but I just put a variable. Then it will change visible, whether the sprite is visible on and off. Depending if it's visible, it will be invisible, and if it's invisible, it will go visible. And then it will just subtract 1 from the hurt clock, and it will set visible to true if the clock is on 0. So it will be a clock that counts down, and this is sort of like in the old school games, you know, if it gets hit, then it flashes a lot, and then it will be invulnerable in that period of time. Actually, I think it's a good time now to see it. First thing I want to show you is when dying because of touching the hazard, the spikes down here, it will make this twirly animation, and that's why it doesn't make sense. You will see right now the spring here, it also reacts on you dying, but that's because it checks for a player object or an entity, and if there's none, then this happens. You can change that if you don't want it. I didn't really care about it happening. But then if we go here and we spawn the enemy, and let's just make sure to die. I will come into closer detail of how this works, but you can see I flash every time, and then at the end I die. I have a small death animation too, and that's the different sort of animations you have. You can see the other one here is if you collide with object enemy. I don't want to have it like if it's colliding with par enemy, because then it will be every enemy, and different enemies works in different ways. For example, this one doesn't hurt you if you are jumping on top of its head, so we need to take that into account. But it simply checks that if your vertical speed is not bigger than 0, so if you're not coming from above and jumping on it, and if your hurt clock is 0, and if the enemy's hurt clock, you got 1 too, is 0, and if you are on the right side of the enemy using sign to get the position. But if you're on the right side of the enemy, if all these things come true, then it's valid attack and you get hurt. And you'll just set HP -1, hurt clock 30. The enemy only have 15 when getting hit, and that's because you need this extra advantage because you're the player, and that's fun. And vertical speed -8, so you're boosting up in the air, and then HP is 16 in the direction you are from the other enemy. So if you are on the left of the enemy, then it will boost to the left. If you are on the right of the enemy, you'll boost to the right. I hope this makes sense. Again, follow the project and in the file, and it will make more sense. And then when you get hurt, the clock goes. If the HP is below 0, then you are destroyed. The player is destroyed, and again it creates a entity die, Same things, except physics is set to true. So if you're in the air, you will fall to the ground even though you're dead. And you use sprite player die 0, 1. So that is another animation for you. And as you can see, this makes room for, you have a lot of different deaths you can make. So if you are watching going into fire, then you are burning or something, or if you're drowning, then you're drowning, and stuff like that. You can have a lot of different death animations without having a lot of different objects. Your objects do fill a lot in the projects, so you can keep the size down of the project. And then let's take it on the enemy too, because it got some of the same stuff. It got HP, it only got 5, and max HP 5. Hurt clock is 0, and that's it. It doesn't have an attack clock because it attacks on touch, but we'll get back to attack after this. As you can see, it can also die by the hazard, and then it got death animation 2. It doesn't have respawn or anything, so we will just set the image X scale to the other image X scale, which we should probably do on the player too. We'll do that. Copy this, and physics is off on this one, like in the other one, because that's a twirly animation too, though I didn't add gravity to that one. I'm not sure if I added now we will add the X scale too, so we'll just put this in. I'm sorry, sometimes some things slip, and that's just how it is. It's not here, we're going in here, and then say there, or 2 animations, so now we should face the right way. Good. Back here, then we have a collision with the player, and if the other y is less than y and other vertical speed is bigger than 0, so if it's coming from above hitting you on the head, and if the other hurt clock is 0, so if you are in the vulnerability zone, you cannot just jump on the enemy. That would be bad, not good. Then the other vertical speed, our player will jump up again, like jumping on the head, then it will bounce up again. So it will set the vertical speed to -12. The death object here will get the same horizontal and vertical speed as our old one, and then it will set the image X scale, and it will set the animation to die. As said before, no need to make a respawn or anything here, so we just let those values be standard. And then you destroy this object because you're dead. And this is the squeeze animation. I'll just show it off, where if you jump from on top on this enemy, the one if it hits the hazard, there's no need to show you, because that means I will have to hit it over to that place. But this one is pretty simple to show off. Squeeze down and die. Pretty simple. And then we have if it touch the power attack. And the reason it isn't a power player attack or power enemy attack or anything like that is because right with the entity die, we also just use one object for every attack. So when it's touched by this attack, it will check if the owner of the attack is power player, and if the hurt clock is 0, then it will lose 1 health. Its hurt clock will be set to 15. It will jump a little up in the air and be pushed away, just like the player is when touching the enemy. Pretty simple, pretty simple. And then in here we have again hurt clock here works in the exactly same way as in the player, flashing. And HP is less than 0, then it's destroyed, and use animation 1. And before talking about how the player attacking works, let's show it how it looks at least. So you have that in your mind when you are watching it, and then we can kill off the enemy here. You can see it's a simple hit animation where it just extends its arm out like this and then kills it in the end. And it follows you around it. You can jump around while using it, and there's room for more different attacks, and I will show you how in a moment. I'll not add one more, but I'll just tell you how, I guess. It starts here in the creative end, where we had the current attack and the attack clock. And the attack clock you can also just set to 0, it's the same thing. and you can just add this to an enemy too if you want that. Then in controls, we got this extra part here after jump. If keyword check K action, I showed that last time in an earlier episode. That's just one of the keys we have used. In this case, I'm using C and X to jump and hit. And attack clock is false, so if we're not currently attacking, then it will attack. And if we're pressing T, then it will attack. And I've made it so that you can attack while in the I'm hurt phase, but you can just add a check and say, and if hurt clock is 0 or something, and we can also just write 0 here if it is false, and 0 is the same, it goes 0. This is just a constant for 0, and true is 1 or above, or is 1, but you know. Yeah, sorry, sidetrack. But if we attack, then it will set the attack clock to 14, because that's the number of frames in the animation. It will set our current attack to 0, because that's the attack I have assigned to this animation. And then it will create this par attack object. It will set the sprite index of the object to mask clear attack. In case it's not, it is a standard right now, but you can change that, but just set it to it, then you are sure. It sets the owner to par player and the image X scale to the other image X scale, so that they are facing the same direction. And the parent is this one up here, par attack. As you can see, it has this owner, it got follow owner and got loop. Owner is normally no one, which is a built-in variable for no object. But you can that's why we're setting it to our player, because it's not a standard thing. Then it got follow owner, and normally that's true, because normally you want the attack mask to follow your owner. And then it got loop, if you wanted to loop unlimited and only destroy it yourself. I have no use for that right now, but it's for future use if we want that. If you have like a spinning seesaw or something. No, sorry, seesaw, what I'm calling about. A spinning chainsaw or something, you want it to not keep creating new ones every time the animation restarts, but just have one where it goes with it and loops. So that's fine. That's the standard settings here. And then animation end, if it doesn't loop, then it destroys. And if the owner is no one, so if the owner doesn't exist, and if not, the instance exists owner. So if it has no owner, or oh, sorry. If it has no owner, if it has no owner, then it will not do this. But if it has an owner, if the owner is not no one, but the owner doesn't exist anymore, so if the player is dead or something like that, then it will destroy. And actually I want to add another thing here, and that is if not owner equals no one, and whoops, instance exists owner. And just the thing I forgot earlier, so I'll just add it now. But if it got an owner, and if the instance does exist, then we want the image X scale to be owner image X scale. Perfect. And for some reason also forgot to make it follow. I'm a little forgetful today, it seems. I'm terribly sorry. I'll have to make up for it in some way. Maybe not. I don't know. So I'll just add this right now. So if follow owner is true, then actually this should also be inside this, so we'll just put this out here also. So, and then follow owner equals true, because if it doesn't follow it, then there's no reason for saving the so we'll just delete this again and then say x med owner x y equals owner y. Yeah, now this works. I'm not gonna add rotation. Yes, why not? Image angle is owner image angle, in case we want to rotate or anything like that. Now it should work. So now if the follow owner is true, then it will follow it. I'm sorry about that. And that's everything in this actually. That's how it works. And of course the par attack is not visible, so it cannot be seen. The way I have made the mask is, you can see it's transparent, and then if you go through, you will see it's a little hard to see, but it's red here. Oops. Oh damn it. It's red at the arm where it's supposed to hurt. And we go in here and look at the mask. It looks in the area where the hand is, because we have the alpha tolerance down. So that's how it works. It's nothing big there. Will not save the changes. So the only important thing about this is that the origin of the thing is at the same spot as here, the attack sprite. So if here it is at 1766, so we now want that here too, and I've just used the same sprite and then made it transparent to make it easy. But that's how it works. I think that was everything for this time. If you do have any questions, or if you let me talk straight for a moment. I've got the I'm thinking that people like this. There have been comments, and that's nice. The easiest way for me to know if people like this or if you should change anything is if you tell me. So I would really, I'm begging you now, use the like or dislike function in YouTube to like or dislike the video, so I can get a direct knowledge of you liking or not. Comment if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, as has been already, and you can see it shapes completely after that. I'm trying to make what you think is important for you that I want in this, that I should do in this, and I'm trying to do your bidding. So and it goes well for now. And favorite if you favorite, that's sort of your own meh, right? It's only for you. But also in the comments, if there's some specific things you want, like if you think, oh, you didn't train enough for speaking in this and blah blah blah, then write that so I can try to improve that. Or if I like the format of this video, you might say, and then I know that I'm doing something right at least. That would really help me a lot. I'm sort of thinking about, because I quite enjoy making these videos, so I might stop making too many gaming videos. On the other side, I already scaled down, but that's mainly because I'm in the exam period. But maybe scale down on that a little, and so there's some room for this, because I really like making these videos. So please tell me what you like, what you don't like, if you like it, if you don't. Share it with your friends, for God's sake. That will help me a lot too. I'm not really as big as I can earn any money on this yet. It will take a couple of years maybe before I earn anything, but it would be nice if you help me a little. If you think I help you with this, then help me back. That made me happy. You're also welcome to follow me on Twitter. I got a Twitter, reading it every day almost, so if you got anything you can write there. If you got some good conversations going, I will gladly follow you too, but I do not follow just because you follow me, because that's doesn't really work out, I found out, in any way. I'm gladly, and if you write anything to me there, you're pretty sure I answer back, so that's cool. I even have a Facebook, but that's pretty, and I also got a Google Plus, but those are, the Google Plus one is connected to YouTube, so that one I respond to as well, because you get notifications and stuff like that. And Facebook one, well, I do not have any followers yet there in any way, but you can be the first. I'll put a link there's a link in the description, I think. I'll put one there at least. But it's a pretty vast. It got all the auto uploads, and Twitter and Google got it as well, where every time I upload a new video and stuff like that, it will automatically get on those social networks, so that's fine. But back to this series, that was sort of a sidestep, but please mind it. For the next videos, I think the next one is gonna be based around power-ups as requested, because that's not a too big thing, so it will not be a too long video, but it will be fine, and you know, it's cool, and it's a good thing to know how to do too. And then I think some of the next videos will be, I'm not sure if I want to put sound in yet, because sound is sort of normally when I make a game, it's some of the last things I put in, because it's pretty easy to implement it, but you not just need to make a system and then you can add it to everything, and so that's normally some of the last things. Also, I'm not a great musician, or I like making sound effects, that's pretty fun, but it's easier to do everything at the same time, so it got the same style and stuff like that. But the other thing I was thinking about was adding particles to liven up, make things a little more living. So again, write in the comments what you think about that, or if there's some other stuff that you think is way more important for me to put in, and I will consider that too. But for now, I think particles is the next thing I want to, after the power-ups of course, add in. It will also give, like in the previous video where I added, you can have those gravity things and stuff like that. Maybe add like, so you can have particles in that area, so you can have like wind blowing or something like that. Improve on that system. Sort of if you have played Rayman, Origins and Legends, you have these winds and that goes up and down where there is gravity is stronger or weaker. You can have something like that, rain going down, and then there's plenty of stuff to do there. So I think that would be a cool thing to try to make. I'll have to read up on particles. I have not used it a lot. I know how they works and stuff like that, but you have to have both emitters and deflectors and all that stuff in mind, and so I need to read up on it. But as normally, I've created first and then I'll show you. So then the code is written and it's pretty easy to talk about if I remember everything. I think that was everything. No, there's one thing I have. No, two things I have made, actually two, that I think is important to add in here. It's a smaller change, it's not something that makes a big difference, but if you go to the trigger, I have added a trigger done variable, which changed the way it works a little. After this, instead of deleting it afterwards the object, I just use trigger done true. So if you trigger once, then trigger done, and that makes so that you can reset it. So if you have like an array, you want the trigger to spawn an object, but after that you you have, for example, 2 triggers, one to delete an object and one to spawn one. So you can delete a boss after it's already spawned, so you can spawn it in again with full health, something like that. I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but I think you get it. But then you can have it to reset if you lose the boss fight and you run back in. You can also, right now I'm just for testing purposes, making you go to the respawn and respawn the player. You can also reset the room or anything, something like that, if you rather do that. That's also a way of doing things. The other thing is an even smaller change. I just added in the movement of the enemy, so it actually uses the H-speed function too and add speed to it, which makes it able to slide on the ice and stuff like that. Nothing big there either. But yeah, I think that was everything. So I really hope you enjoyed. Again, a call to action here. Please write in the comments. Some of you already do it, and that's nice. It really warms my heart reading those comments, saying that you're just telling me that your subbing is making me happy. Like then I know it's an active-ish sub I got, or it is that is because of this that you're subbing and not because one of my gaming videos. Because if you just subscribe, then it's like, it could be that you found one of my gaming videos from some time ago. It could be one of my first videos. It could be anything that makes you sub. So this makes me sure. Of course, I got those analytics you got as a YouTube creator partner. You got those analytics you can watch where some of the subs come from and all that kind of stuff. But it warms my heart when you write or like or anything. But especially when you comment, because I feel sort of more like I'm connecting with you there. But now we'll stop jabbing all this gibberish out. It's not gibberish, but I'm talking too much, and we are done with the video anyway. So I really hope you enjoyed again, and we'll see you next time. Bye!